ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਰੇਡੀਓ USA ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਰੋਤਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਿਆਰ ਸਤਿਕਾਰ ਸਹਿਤ ਨਿੱਘੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ। ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਜੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸੋ ਤੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਅਪਡੇਟ ਫਾਰਮਿੰਗ 'ਚ ਆਪ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਨਿੱਘਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ। ਮੈਂ ਰਾਜਕਨਵੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੁੜ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਨੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਅਮਰੀਕਨ ਗਰੋਵਰ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਤੋਂ ਜਸਵੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਜੀ। ਜਸਵੀਰ ਜੀ, ਜੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ। ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਰਾਜਕਰਨਵੀਰ ਜੀ ਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਰੋਤਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।
ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਲਾਸਟ ਟਾਈਮ ਜਸਵੀਰ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਸ਼ੇਸ਼ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਲਮੰਡ ਦੀ ਇੰਡੀਪੈਂਡੈਂਸ ਵੈਰਾਈਟੀ ਆ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਚੈਲੰਜਸ ਆ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ, ਉਹਦੇ ਸੋਲਿਊਸ਼ਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ। ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਹਰਬੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੁਣੀ ਡੇਵ ਵਿਲਸਨ ਨਰਸਰੀ ਤੋਂ ਉਹ ਜੁੜ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਾਣਾਂਗੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਕੀ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਇਹ ਸੋਚ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸੋਲਿਊਸ਼ਨਸ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹਰਬੀਰ ਜੀ, ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ। ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ।
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ
ਜੀ। ਸੋ ਬਿਫੋਰ ਵੀ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਜਸਵੀਰ ਭਾਜੀ, ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ ਵੀ ਇੰਡੀਪੈਂਡੈਂਸ ਵੈਰਾਈਟੀ ਦੇ ਕੀ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਫਾਰਮਰਸ ਆ ਗਰੋਵਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਸਾਹਮਣਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈ ਰਿਹਾ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਰਾਜਕਰਨਵੀਰ, ਦੇਖੋ ਡੇਵ ਵਿਲਸਨ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਨਰਸਰੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਸੈਲਫ ਪੋਲੀਨੇਟਰ ਵੈਰਾਈਟੀ ਇੰਡੀਪੈਂਡੈਂਟ ਮਾਰਕੀਟਸ ਆਈ ਸੀਗੀ, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਈ ਕਾਫੀ ਸਕਸੈਸਫੁਲ ਸੀ, ਕਿਉਂ ਉਹ ਪੋਲੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਬੀਜ ਬਹੁਤ ਚਾਹੇ ਤਾਂ ਟੋਟਲੀ ਇਲੀਮੀਨੇਟ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਚਾਹੇ ਫਿਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਰੱਖਣੀਆਂ ਪੈਂਦੀਆਂ, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਵੈਰਾਈਟੀ ਆਈ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਫੀ ਚਿਰ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਗਾ। ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸ਼ੈਸਟਾ ਆ ਗਈ, ਜ਼ੋਰਜ਼ੀਨ, ਹੋਰ ਵੈਰਾਈਟੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸੈਲਫ ਪੋਲੀਨੇਟਰ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਤੇ ਮੇਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਚੈਲੰਜਸ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਨਾ, ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਖੇਤੀ 'ਚ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਦੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੀ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹਰਬੀਰ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਅੱਜ। ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਇੰਡੀਪੈਂਡੈਂਟ ਵੈਰਾਈਟੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਕਰਕੇ ਹੁਣ ਜਦੋਂ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਟਰੀ 10-12 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆ, ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਸਟਿਕ ਟਾਈਟ ਦੇ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਬਹੁਤ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਬਦਾਮ ਜਦੋਂ ਸ਼ੇਕ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਟਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਜਾਣੀ ਦੀ ਬਾਹਰਲੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਦਾਮ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਧੁੱਪ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਖੁੱਲ੍ਹਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਹਲੇ ਗ੍ਰੀਨ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਬਾਏ ਮੋਡਲ ਜਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਗਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਹਾਰਵੈਸਟ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਆਉਂਦਾ। ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਨ ਸਟਿਕ ਟਾਈਟ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਆ, ਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੋਰ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਸੈਂਸਿਟਿਵਿਟੀ ਨਾ ਕਈ ਸੋਇਲ ਤੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਟਾਈਪ ਤੇ ਕਈਆਂ ਫਾਰਮਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਟਰੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਛੋਟੇ ਰਹਿ ਗਏ ਆ। ਉਹ ਗਰੋ ਕਰਨਾ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਆ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਗਰੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ। ਉਹ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਡਵਾਰਫ ਟਰੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ, ਇੱਕ ਹਾਈਟ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਰੀਚ ਕਰ ਲਈ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਹਾਈਟ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਾਣੀ ਹੋਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੱਧ ਰਹੇ। ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਆ ਇਹ ਕਾਫੀ ਵੱਡਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਸਾਰੇ ਫਾਰਮਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਗਾ। ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਹਰਬੀਰ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਇਹੀ ਆ ਹਰਬੀਰ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੰਡੀਪੈਂਡੈਂਟ ਦਾ ਸਟਿਕ ਟਾਈਟ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਆ ਇਹਦੇ ਕਾਜ਼ਸ ਕੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੋਲਿਊਸ਼ਨਸ ਕੀ ਆ, ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਕਰਕੇ। ਕਈਆਂ ਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਬਦਾਮ ਇੰਨੇ ਰਹਿ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ 60-80 ਏਕੜ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾ 100 ਪਾਊਂਡ ਟਰੀ ਦੇ 100 ਪਾਊਂਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਾਣੀ ਦੀ 100,000 ਪਾਊਂਡ ਟਰੀ ਤੋਂ ਡਬਲ ਸ਼ੇਕ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ ਸੈਕਿੰਡ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਹੁੰਦੇ, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਤੇ ਉਸ ਲਈ ਆਪਾਂ ਹਰਵੀਰ ਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਵਿਲਸਨ ਨਰਸਰੀ 'ਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਫੀ ਚਿਰ ਹੋਇਆ, ਫੀਲਡ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੁਣ ਜਾਣੀ ਦੀ ਇੰਡੋਰ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹੀ ਅੱਜ ਨੌਲੇਜ ਲਈਏ, ਪੁੱਛੀਏ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੰਡੀਪੈਂਡੈਂਟ ਵੈਰਾਈਟੀ ਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜਾਣੀ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਟਿਕ ਟਾਈਟ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਕਾਸ ਤੋਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਸੋਲਿਊਸ਼ਨਸ ਕੀ ਆ।
ਜੀ ਜੀ ਹਰਬੀਰ ਜੀ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ। ਸੋ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ, ਸਟਿਕ ਟਾਈਟਨੈਸ ਦਾ ਇਹੀ ਮੇਨ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਮੇਨ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਤੋਂ ਸੋ ਇਟਸ ਬੀਨ ਲੈਟ ਮੀ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਫਰਮ ਦ ਬਿਗਿਨਿੰਗ। ਸੋ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਰਸਰੀ ਨਾਲ ਅਬਾਊਟ 20 years ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆ ਤੇ ਫਰਮ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਨਰਸਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ when I started writing an evaluation of new varieties. So ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ 'ਚ ਫਿਰ I become a propagator. So I propagated and then I managed the propagation department, which means I was growing the trees for them, right? So I propagated all the trees, I finished all the trees, then I made sure that the trees are in a good quality to go out to the customers and get planted. So after that, for last 12 years, I was offered to be a field rep for Dave Wilson Nursery, so I become a field rep, and now I'm working with all the growers up in Northern California, Central California also, and sometimes Southern California. Um, so ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ question ਆ ਕਿ stick tightness independence 'ਚ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, why is it so strong, and why do so independence like to produce and start producing really young age, like on third leaf you can almost get, depending on the farming practice and the ground and everything, you can get somewhere from 300-400 pounds to 2,000 pounds, depending on the area, depending on everything, soil type. So it's a producer, it's a really heavy producer, it's an early producer. So when you have something that likes to produce early, likes to work hard early in the starting in the beginning, you have to feed them well too. So the food is the biggest cause to keep the tree growing, and to keep the trees moving along to get the height at the same time when it's producing. So the biggest thing that I worked with the Zager families really close throughout the years on a lot of issues like this. So Zager families, Zager Genetic is the one that came out with independence, and they're based out of Modesto, and the biggest thing that we noticed that the most stick tight problem you will have if you apply nitrogen really late. So nitrogen application is really important in the early seasons. So if you have a nitrogen application late, the stem behind the nut gets really, um, you can say healthy or strong, that it doesn't allow, when the machine is shaking the nuts, it doesn't allow the nuts to come loose. That's the main cause, and then mainly, depending on the area, because in Southern California and Central California, you are pretty much scheduled to, have a longer days, longer weather, really loamy ground, way better way better temperature and ground and season than Northern California. So in the central, we will and the Southern California, it works really well if you are done by May 1st, for example, applying all your nitrogen. And then in Northern California, mid-May, because the weather, because due to the weather, season is a little shorter over there, and it's pretty wet. It gets pretty wet in the winter up there. So ode karke, if you apply the nitrogen at this timing, it majority of the time it works out really well, and you will not have any stick tight. Now, the farmers can say, okay, we do that, and we still have stick tight in our orchard sometimes. Well, I notice, I said, well, if you're having a stick tight still, even when you do that, that could be something still going on, that it's making the nuts stay on the trees really tight when you're shaking. So most of the time we find out the nitrate in the water is really high. If the water supply is carrying a high nitrate in the water, and that's the only source of water you have, you will have a stick tight. And to come over that, sometimes I worked with the growers and say, okay, to come over that, maybe you want to go, you cannot prevent a nitrate in the water. It's gonna be there. So I mean, you can prevent application of the nitrogen by doing it the right timing, but you cannot prevent the nitrate in the water. So that the one thing that we see that helps is maybe trying to get the nuts off the tree when they're a little bit greener. so it comes off if you have a high nitrate. But if you don't have a high nitrate in your water, and if you control your nitrogen application at the right timing, you should not have any problem with the stick type.
ਸੋ ਹਰਵੀਰ ਜੇ ਨਾ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ ਸੋ ਈਵਨ ਸੈਂਟਰਲ ਤੇ ਸਾਊਥ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦ ਸੀਜ਼ਨ ਸਟਾਰਟਸ ਲੈਟਸ ਸੇ ਇਨ ਮਾਰਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਫਰਟੀਗੇਸ਼ਨ ਮੇਨ ਹੋਣੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ that leaves the 9 weeks to basically get all the nitrogen in before May 1st ਹੈ ਨਾ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਦੇ growth ਤੇ how does it deal with the growth ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ higher demand ਆ ਇਹਦੀ because it's a higher producing versus cutting off a little bit early ਕਿ ਇੱਕਦਮ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੰਨੀ you can't even put that much in that short period of time.
So
let's say if you put compost can continue to deliver nitrogen.
Right, that's 100% right. Yes.
There's more hotter weather. You'll get more nitrates out of the compost. Are we saying basically compost is not designed for independence, or if you can cut it early, how do you expect the tree to grow?
I'm not, I have a lot of farmers that use compost. They use compost throughout the fall season. They will spread them out in the fall, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how much effect the compost does at that late in the season, but I know one thing, that a lot of growers that had issues in past, and we combined forces with Zager Genetics, and they worked, and we looked at it, and they, Zager family does farm themselves also, and they did a lot of different experiments, and they found out by doing this, by late nitrogen application into the orchard usually creates a stick type, and that's the only um, if you take care of that, and if you fix that, you should not have a stick type. And I saw a bunch of orchard like that that would not have a stick type after that.
So
But
जो
at the
ਆਪਾਂ
end,
ਪਾਣੀ ਦਾ nitrate ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ is being high, what is high? What level of nitrate is considered high? ਇਹ ਦੱਸ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਸੋ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ then they can go test their wells and ਤੇ ਦੂਸਰਾ question
if you look at the normal nitrate level, I believe is 10, but if it's above 10, I think then it's considerably getting higher. So if it's higher than that, that's what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
ਤੇ ਦੂਸਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਬਜ਼ਰਵੇਸ਼ਨ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਆ ਨਾ ਇੰਡੀਪੈਂਡੈਂਸ ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਟਸ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤਾਂ ਆਊਟਸਾਈਡ ਆ they open pretty early or on the top and the inside is still green है ना hull split हो नहीं रही, so you get this bimodal crop ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ if you shake early, the inside hull hasn't really opened up and the outside is pretty much ready to go. And how do you optimize this thing? When to really start shaking, because many people are really playing this thing. Should I do it early or late, green, even putting a water on, even at the time, trying to make the stem a little looser or the nut a little heavier? Will that work, or what some of the other things people can do?
So coming back from the first question, regarding the nuts are getting ready on the top, and inside it's a little bit more greener, or at the bottom it's more greener. Usually when you see that, you see it in an orchard, not outside row, pretty much inside rows, but just independence like to bloom, and there's different blooms, and there's long bloom in independence, and while they're blooming, and they bloom so heavy, while they're blooming, they're pollinating they're pollinating itself with a breath of air, right? So it's 100% self-fertile, and that causes, because it's a long bloom, some bloom opens up a little later, some bloom opens up at the beginning, and some sticks, the ones in the beginning will stick earlier, and some will stick which I mean stick by getting pollinated later. So that causes them little uneven ripening and the in the younger age of the tree. But when the tree gets more and more older, you should not see that. You should see pretty even ripening. So, and in the past, like I said, I had growers that will go after the orchard when it's a little bit on the greener side, so they can get everything off, so it doesn't stick in the younger orchard, pretty much in the younger trees.
ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ if the trees are 10 years old and you're seeing this phenomena that the hull split outside is pretty much done, inside hasn't opened, what could be the causes?
Just the how the well, there's a couple different things that you have to look at it. Is the orchard really what's the density of orchard? What's the spacing on the orchard, right? That's one thing. Second thing is the soil type of the orchard also. If the soil type of the orchard is it's holding more moisture, and it's a really good ground, it's really loamy ground, really neutral ground, everything you apply, the tree picks it up. That could cause a little bit of if it's high density planting, that could cause a little bit of an uneven ripening because of the penetration of the sun and everything else.
What is your recommendation, like the spacing wise?
Spacing wise, Virji, again, the spacing wise always depend on the type of the ground that you are forming. If the
Mhm.
ground is the ground is class one with with a really good water source, really good water, and the major and another major step is the rootstock. So which rootstock are you planting? If you're planting, let's say, just a standard peach almond hybrid, which is Lovell or Nimagard, that is hardly getting used nowadays, um, then you can go a little tighter. But if you're going with a hybrid, let's say any, Titan or a complex hybrid or a Brights Hybrid 5, Hanson, all this rootstock you need to be at least 21 in a really good ground with a really good source of water. You need to be at least 22 by 15 or 16.
So ਇੱਕ ਨਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ if you can comment on it ਹੈ ਨਾ rootstock makes a huge difference.
जी.
Yes, 100%.
Independence on Nimagard, independence on Viking, and independence on Hanson. That's what's seen in a lot of the Central Valley here. What are the different characteristics, and what should the farmers be doing based upon these root systems?
So if you're looking at independence, let's say if you're looking at just on the rootstock, if we're looking at just the Nimagard is just a standard um, uh, almond peach hybrid, just almond peach seeded rootstock. It's
Mhm.
okay. It works really good with the nematodes. Okay, but the anchorage is not that great. It's not, and it's not a vigorous tree. Um, the even from a mile away you can say that's a Nimagard rootstock because he has a ring at the bud union, at the graft union, that the rootstock usually is always smaller than a scion on the top, whichever the variety is on the top is bigger. That's your Nimagard. When it comes to a Viking rootstock, Viking is a complex hybrid, which is a cross between almond, peach, plum, and apricot, and it's a complex hybrid. And Atlas also come in a complex hybrid. Those are more vigorous. They work really good against the nematode. They work really good against the root rot, which prevents you from uh, uh, falling over when the tree gets about 12, 14 years old. Really good on the anchorage. It does have more. It's more disease resistant. It doesn't get phytophthora that easy like other rootstock will get. Um, so all this characteristic is different, and the Hansen is the same way. Hansen is more vigor. It's a peach almond hybrid. That's a
Mhm.
peach almond hybrid. It has a really good anchorage. Little less disease resistant than Viking, but it is a really vigor rootstock. It's like a Titan type rootstock.
So ਜਿਹੜਾ Nimagard ਹੈ ਨਾ, it's known to shut down at high temperature and high sodium.
Mhm.
So
That's
basically at
100% right.
100 degree, huh? And the Viking is not having the same characteristics. Let's say
Yes.
people that has a Nimagard, how much effect it has on that stem when the temperature gets to or at a certain temperature. Let's say 100 ka ho hi janda right in May time frame. Is it
Yeah.
more hardening there at that point, or is it what is it actually doing between the nut and the stem ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, and it's hanging on to the limb itself?
So when it comes to a temperature, all any I would say at 98 to 100 degrees, 95 to 100 degrees, that's the capacity. That's where the trees starts getting shutting they start shutting themselves down, and they go into
Mhm.
spiral mode.
Hmm.
And that's the temperature. But when it comes to salt, boron, um, uh, uh, let's say hard water, uh,
Sodium
those
chloride. And
sodium chloride, those will work way better than complex hybrid and the almond hybrid, almond peach hybrid, which is like Hansen. Those rootstock can process that better to a limit, though, to not to excessive limit, to a limit they can process themselves better, way better than Nimagard or Lovell rootstock.
Mhm.
Okay. Somebody asked, how about independence on root pack R?
So rootpack R is a heavy plum rootstock, and independence on rootpack R. Well, there's only it's not compatible with crimps. Crimp is also a heavy rootstock. No, independence on rootpack R needs the rootpack R itself. It's when you talk about plum cross hybrid, they're usually a smaller tree, weighs even smaller or same or smaller than an imagard. Okay, so but they have their own location. You cannot just go and plant rootpack R in any sandy loamy ground.
Mhm.
You have to plant that into like a Sacramento Valley where it's a rice ground, heavier ground. Those kind of ground is where rootpack R will thrive, and any other rootstock could have other issues and more disease because it's a wet feed.
Mhm.
Okay. When you said Harbir with like high nitrate, so is this all in the well, or do you see the high nitrate in water on the above ground water as well?
No, no, no. It could be any places. It could be in the well or high water in the district water also. It could be in the district water also. I personally know a well that I farm with has a really high nitrate, and it's my numbers are running somewhere at 40. So
Mhm.
yeah. So, but I hear some district down south has high nitrate also.
Mhm. I think the key thing that would be is really independent the uh, genes or genetics of it. We are gonna get worse water. Quality is gonna go down as you're pumping deeper and deeper, and even the ditch water, canal water is coming in with the higher nitrate than it used to be. And so the question that would be is what kind of fertigation program um, that farmers should do across California, north, central, south. South means Bakersfield, and center here in Fresno. Uh, what could Dave Wilson recommend? This is the best practices that you've seen throughout the valley. Aha karo. This is the fertigation programs that's really needed so to maximize the output of that tree.
Mainly in the past, when I ran into situation like stick tights and stuff like that, I worked with the growers PCA, and we were able to do the soil samples, leaf samples, water samples, analysis, and we do that throughout a year, and we figure out how to manage that to go around this. Usually, the PCA that you are dealing with should be able to put a plan together for you. So, uh, does the Dave Wilson Nursery has a recommendation? What we see in the and what we work with the growers, that's the results we have. And mainly, we've been working with a lot of growers in this case where they say, yeah, we have a little bit of a stick tight issue. So, we worked with PCAs, and we brought the applications of the nitrogen earlier on in the season and apply everything. That solved majority of the problem. With the hybrid, I would say it's with the hybrid rootstocks or complex rootstocks. I would say it's easier to work with them than just the standard peach rootstock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
karke majority of the Nemagard is there, 70% that's got shipped out. And the hybrid just came in the last few years.
Yeah, the hybrid.
And
Well, we've been dealing with Viking and Atlas and Hansen from day one. I mean, it's been 20 plus years. Viking and Atlas rootstock is a rootstock that Dave Wilson Nursery came out with about 23, 24 years ago.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
So basically, the stick tight is a nitrogen management issue.
It's a management. And I think if you start working at it and you start looking at it really close, I think you will be able to fix it with any orchard out there.
Mhm,
But if you have a high nitrate in your water, you might have to try to get the nuts off the trees a little bit on the greener side, so you have a weight behind it.
mhm.
Okay.
So let's see. Some people are doing second shaking of the independence. So
Okay.
the first shaking went out late July, early August. Then they come back, and probably after the season, late September, they'll shake it again and probably get another 20%. Some of these guys up to 25% of the nuts that were on the trees. They'll come down, and some don't. So is that just a function of how fast the nitrogen is depleting in the stem?
So that's what it is. The later you apply the nitrate, the longer it's going to hang around. So that's why when I was working with the Zager families, we figured this out, that the earlier you apply, the better it is, because you have everything that you need to give it to to the tree and to the nuts. Um, you will go ahead and supply that, and then at the end, when you're ready to get them off, it'll be easier to get them off.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
ਜਿਹੜੇ condition ਆਉਂਦਾਗਾ like tree growth है ना, uh, generally you could see in the many areas है ना, yes, the water quality is in there, where the growth is kind of stunted है ना, and especially what's is figured out is if third and second, third, fourth leaf, if the nutrition deficiency is there, once it basically gets into this condition, then the trees don't grow afterward. That's what you see in the field. So the question is, what can they do to get these trees back and up going, regardless of putting more in there? People have tried, but the tree kind of basically maximizes itself and says, okay, that's my height, that's my growth, we're not going anywhere.
The question is on a third and fourth and fifth leaf.
So basically, most of the people, when independence came out, they treated like a nonpareils or monorays.
Mhm.
And where it really needed about 125% of nonpareil nutrition at the time. And because once it's fallen behind, it basically looks like genetically it's stunted at that point, and it stops growing.
So
And if you
go
put in
ahead.
more nitrates, you're gonna get Sticktights afterward, because that's the growth engine.
So my recommendation, like again going back to it's a producer, so it likes to produce. At the same time, when it's producing, if you don't give them enough food to maintain the health of the tree or to get the vigorous out of the tree, you're going to get either one. And mainly when you're not applying enough, it's going to go to the nuts instead of trees. But if you do, so you have to, it's a it likes in the beginning of the orchard life, you have to apply,
So
and you cannot treat them like non-pearl
uh,
Monterey. You have to.
let me correct, a lot of the tree farmers, they go by the tissue test. Whatever the leaf is, if the tissue is telling everything is sufficient,
Mhm.
it goes into a growth or this stunted or this dwarf situation because your tissue test is telling you you don't need anything. But in reality, it stops growing at that point.
Yeah,
We,
so
we've done a lot of tests. I mean, it's looking at it,
tissue
but even if the tissue
tissue and
test is saying it's good, you're putting anyway another 25%.
Mhm. So tissue test, soil test, soil analysis, tissue analysis, and the water analysis is really important if it's your own well, to make sure that the whole the all three is pretty neutral for whatever's in the ground the tree's picking up, so the ground's not tying anything up if there's anything going on. So if everything is in green, you should not have any problem. But you cannot treat Independence as a non-pearl Monterey in the early seasons, because in the early stage of the planting, you have to go strong, and you have to get the size of the trees first 5 years. That's when is the most important thing, to get the height of the trees on the first 5 years. After that, yes, the trees are gonna grow. The trees will grow, but the first 5 years is really critical to get the height of the tree that you probably want.
So, do you recommend like doing this for the first 5 years or like every year? Doing this analysis, these tests.
Analysis is always good to do every year. The reason being, sometimes depending the source, what kind of water you applying, what kind of fertilization, and everything will tell you. Analysis is the most important thing that will tell you that what is needed in your trees or in your ground or in your water to correct itself. And that's usually a PCA job to take care of it uh, at least once or twice a season.
See, most of the time is there's two things going on. If your tissue test is telling I'm healthy, so then the indication is the tree is uptaking, regardless of
Mhm.
the quality of the water that you're getting. It took enough uptake, enough nutrients to indicate your tissues are fine. And and then the next question that comes up is if your soil's okay, your water is okay, because your tissue is a result of those two, that the trees are picking up things okay. and and what the experience or the tribal knowledge has been in the field is, even if it's saying okay, you still apply more, you're going to see a growth. If you basically go with the test and stop it there, then you're going to see stunted growth. Trees won't grow as much as they need to.
It should not. If everything is normal and everything is neutral,
Mhm.
and everything looks right, and the application of all the fertilization is there, it should not have that. You should have a growth on the top of the trees, unless you have a really heavy crop. If you do have a really heavy crop and everything is going to your crop, then you might not have much growth on the tree itself, because it's all going to the crop.
Mhm. So I think it's a good point. People will start looking at their nitrogen, their nitrate programs, trying to cut early as possible. If there's any white papers on it, if you could publish it on the Pug WhatsApp, that would help everyone as well, because I think it's important, because most farmers probably don't know at this point. The cutoff time normally in the fields have been end of May, and that's what
Yes.
everyone has been following. The second question is, look, we're in the AI or the times frame right now. What is Dave Wilson Nursery doing in terms of the future? Is it going to be a self-learning trees where it'll basically pick up what it needs out of the environment, out of the climate, the amount of nitrogen, amount of moisture it needs, versus relying on the ground? What are some of the breakthrough technologies that are going on that will be coming up in the future, so farmers could look forward to?
So the technology wise, I mean, we work with the all the extensions, UC extensions, farm advisors, and everybody else, and machinery people, a lot of equipment technologies, irrigation technologies, sodium, and we work with everything. We're really open. We're looking at a lot of new different trials. We're working on a lot of different rootstocks ourselves, which is upcoming for the future, to pick and work against these kind of challenges better. And then also we're looking into varieties that is going to be different timing, earlier timing, water saving timing, and the varieties that's going to be more easy to farm, more easy to with the machineries, and easier to manage.
How about plant pathology? Plants, leaves taking more stuff out of the environment than out of the root system. Are there any focus on that?
There's always focus on everything like that. So when we work on stuff like this, we usually get involved with UC extension, and that's where, and the farm advisors, and we work with them. We provide a lot of material to them to help us also learn and to work and see what can we do to if there's problems out there, to solve them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, how about some of the trials that are going on with dwarf trees, um, close plantings, and using different methods for harvesting? Is that successful, or is that something it just in very early trials?
No, no,
High tech.
there's a lot of trials that's going on in USA and out of USA also,
Mhm.
and they're using a lot of different kind of machineries to harvest, mainly harvesters from right on the top, just like olive harvesters. And there's orchards out here in Modesto area actually that did probably 10,000 pounds, that I know of, 10,000 pounds, uh, somewhere close to 10,000 pounds per acre, but there's 600 trees planted per acre. And they're planted on a really dwarf rootstock where they can manage and they can get the production out of it.
Mhm. What's
So
uh,
they
what's the name of the dwarf rootstocks?
there's a bunch of different ones. We are not currently working with any. We did work with couple in past, because the practice of a dwarf rootstock is is I mean, planting 900, 6 to 900 trees an acre is a lot of work. So it's not set up for everyone. So
Mhm.
there's Rootback R20, there's Rootback R40, and we don't grow them. But I heard of them, and that's the one that they've been using to do a close planting, like 6 to 800
So is that
trees per
happening
acre.
mostly in Sacramento Valley or everywhere?
No, 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 it's not happening. Mainly, it's not happening anywhere. There's a couple test blocks planted. That's it. It's mainly happening, like other countries. I saw big blocks of videos from other countries when I see it.
Like which countries?
Portugal, I think, is one of them that I heard of, and Taneas. When you talk to the guys that from Taneas, they will have a better understanding, and I saw the ones that I think I saw was more like Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
So any trade-off between normal tree and dwarf tree, do they still produce the same, or like where's the trade-off?
Trade-off is the dwarf trees you have to plant. You have to plant. On a standard trees, you're planting 135 to 150 trees per acre, right? On the dwarf, you're planting 600 to 700 trees per acre. So there's just a lot of work that's in the dwarf tree had in that block. I think you have to change your whole mechanical situation when you go dwarf. You have to change your tractors. You have to change every equipment that you use is different than a standard orchard.
No, we'll come back to that. So one of the questions that came up: does the strong boron program help the stick tight?
Does the strong boron program help the stick tighten? I'm not
Get-
sure
Getting,
about that one.
getting a heavier hulls.
No, I didn't. I'm not sure about that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So coming back is there's been trials in overseas where you could get two crops per season, indoor planting, controlling the climate, and be able trees to produce earlier and harvest earlier, get two cycles in a season. Is that something you have seen?
No, I never even heard of it. Yeah, it's because it's gonna be, my understanding is gonna be a little tough because you need a chill hours, and every time you need a chill hours for the almonds, you could be anywhere from, unless it's really low chill, you could be like non-prel Monterey's, you could be anywhere from 500 to 700 chill hours. So in order to get 500 to 700 chill hours, you I don't know how you're gonna be managed to get a two crop in the same season.
Yeah, I'll get some more information. That's the testing they
Yeah.
done indoor with the dwarf trees planting. So then you have other say it's a trade-offs at the end. So in
Yes,
terms
it's a
of
trade-off.
the nursery, in terms of the technology, what else is going on?
So mainly in the nursery world, we always try to look forward and see if we can come up and help more with the better rootstocks, better varieties. We are always working on different growth habits. Always working, pretty much we're always working on the different varieties to come up with and see what's going to be more benefit out there to the growers.
So let's ask the other way. What kind of almond trees will be in 10 years and 15 years? I mean, I come from a technology background and we go through a 20, 30-year
I
roadmap.
mean, everybody's trying to work and make a self fertile non-paral. So we'll
Hmm.
Yeah.
see. Yeah.
No, no, that was the original question is will the next generation genetics and coming in where you don't need to fertilize anything and it's not susceptible to any diseases.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always said, you know what? If I have a magic rootstock, that will be the one. And
So are,
magic
are you
science.
working on any magic rootstock?
We're trying our best to work on one. Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
One of the other question I always keep coming up is what's the history of these? Where did these rootstocks came from? Are they just native to California and people just picked up and start uh, put buds on and make different trees out of it? Who actually
Nate,
developed the root systems?
Nay, G, nay, nay. It's a cross between different rootstocks, and that's how they work. And they crossbreed them even at the UC extensions and all the personal genetics. They will crossbreed them, and they will try to come up with a rootstock that would work the best and is more vigorous. That's the one thing that every individual that works on the rootstock and even UC extension or genetics and hybrids, it takes a long time to come out with a rootstock, because you have to, plant that rootstock in 50 different soil types to see what is that rootstock capable of.
Mhm.
That is even rootstock is the hardest thing to introduce in the market than any variety.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the key owners and a scientist over lunch about a year ago. And the same question that discussions came about is where did these root stocks came from? Because we just did a crossbreed and everything, and the answer really came from wasn't sure, it was just here, and we just crossbreed, and whatever the best that came out of it is what we have now. It's called Nimagard.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So Nimagard is a really old generation rootstock, and there's a lot of rootstock after that. It's looking really promising, and it's looking really good, and it works really good. It's more neutral and it's more vigor, so and has more life behind it,
So
and
one of the other questions that came out is every other industry there is a very detailed specification on the
Mm.
product. If you buy a car, you get a thick manual. If you bought a harvester, you get a thick manual. When you buy nursery trees, nothing really comes in with it. Is there a spec, published spec that is people that should be reading and following and technical guides on that particular product?
yes,
Is there
sir. Yes,
something
sir.
that exists?
Yes, there is. I mean, if you look at the Almond board, Almond board combined with the U.S. Extension, and they did a lot of research on the rootstock, and it's listed. For example, what is Hansen good for? Where you should be planting Hansen, and what Hansen can handle better than what, and what is Hansen resistant to, and what is Hansen is not resistant to. So all that information is there.
No, actually, my question was a little bit different. I asked the same questions to Almond Board Innovation Committee. I'm one of the members on it,
Hmm.
and the technical guys. So those are all tribal knowledges that test done. Here's the result. But in terms of the company, the manufacturer that produces certain product, they generated different specifications that here my product is designed to this spec, because the question came on Nimagard. Nimagard shuts down at high temperature, high sodium, high chloride, but it's saying, hey, where's the spec that says that?
It's
And
we have a pamphlet. It does say on the pamphlet that Nimagard is susceptible to this, and Nimagard is good against this. We do have stuff like that, and we like to take it whenever I'm working with the farmer. I take that to them, and I share that with them, and so that way they know what is he going to be planting and what he should plant, which will work the best for him.
actually, reality may be different. I don't want to counter it. We planted Independence, we planted now Shasta, planted others. Nothing ever came out of it. It was just, hey, the trees are coming in. Yes, you see brochures here and there at the shows and stuff, but we're expecting more of, hey, here's a design spec of this product, and
Hmm.
and this spec is gonna, you need to look at it, you need to follow to maximize. I mean, let's say if you design a car, you don't come up with the spec and you're driving 200 miles an hour, of course it's not going to last,
Right.
versus where it's designed to.
Maybe it will be Harbir Paji, maybe it will be a good idea to incorporate this thing uh, with you when you deliver it to the farmers, to the growers. From now onwards, maybe they can read on it, like at least then they can
Yeah,
say, okay, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, Paji, by that time it's too late, because I think the farmers, I usually like to talk to the farmers when I see them first time when he's thinking about replanting a block. That's
Mm.
the time this kind of information needs to be shared, and and that's when I share usually, and that's when he needs to know what rootstock will be the best for his ground, and which one he should be choosing out of this. This is your options.
Hmm. So I think we're running out of time, but Thanks for coming on. I think we look forward to probably doing more calls in the future.
Yeah.
So the message gets crossed very clearly, and it actually benefits all the growers.
Thank you, Harbir Paji. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ।
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।
ਸੋ ਜਸਬੀਰ ਭਾਜੀ ਸਮਾਂ ਵਾਕਿਆ ਹੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਸਮਾਪਤ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ, ਇਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਸੀਗੇ ਗਰੋਵਰਸ ਦੇ ਇੰਡੀਪੈਂਡੈਂਸ ਵੈਰਾਈਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਲੈ ਕੇ, ਰੂਟ ਸਟਾਕਸ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ, ਹੋਰ ਕਾਫੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ। ਸੋ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ, ਮਿਹਰਬਾਨੀ, ਸ਼ੁਕਰੀਆ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਨੈਕਸਟ ਟਾਈਮ। ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ
ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।